Hello everybody. Today we are going to see control flow in Python. First of all, a few things about Python code. Okay. Python code uses indentation. Okay, to define blocks of code. So all consecutive statements with the same indentation belong to the same block of code. We will see some examples now. Okay. Until now, you didn't have to worry about blocks of code, indentation, and nothing related to that because we were only using simple statements, okay? And simple statements don't need indentation and the definition of blocks of code because all sentences were in the same indentation block. So we had no indentation and all the statements were in the main block of the code. But now we are going to use compound statements, okay, like the conditional statements, loops, function definition, classes, and they all need code blocks to define the statements associated to them. Compound statements use a colon at the end of the line to specify the code block that follows. And there can also be nested indentations because there can be a compound statement inside another compound statement. So in that case, we would have nested indentations. We are going to see an example, a very simple example, so you can understand what these blocks of code are or the indentation, how they work. So here we are with a piece of code where we are going to use an if statement, okay? Here with this indentation we have the main block. Here we have this statement here. This is a simple statement, an assignment statement, and here we have the if statement. The if statement is a compound statement. The if statement in this case is in the main block. Okay, this is the main block with no indentation. But now I'm saying that if this value of x, okay, because here in this line what I'm saying is to the one that runs the code is going to have to write a number, and then if that number is greater than 10, then, and you can see here this column, okay, this column over here is saying okay, this is the end of the condition, and now I'm going to write the code that for what happens when x, this number that the user has specified, if this number is greater than 10. So in this case I'm going to print that, well, the value of x is greater than 10. If this condition is not true, then it's going to go to the next statement in this case, which is an elif statement, which is inside the if. Okay, this elif statement it belongs to the same if statement. And in this case, if the input value is smaller than 10, well then, and here we have also the colon. Okay, the colon is going to say I'm going to write some code for this elif code block, okay, for this elif part, which is an else if. Okay, else if we have this is the same as writing that. So in this case we are going to print that x is smaller than 10, and if any of these conditions are fulfilled, then it's going to print something else, which in this case the only option that we have is that if x is not greater than 10 and x is not smaller than 10, then the only thing that we know is that x is equal to 10. Okay, remember that we are writing integer numbers. Well, for floating point numbers it will also happen, okay, but in this case it's simpler. And here with this sentence, with this last sentence, this would be the end of the if statement. So the if statement starts here. It has inside the if statement, I mean this belongs to the if statement, and this also belongs to the if statement. We have 3 different blocks of code, each of one belonging to one of these statements over here. Okay, so if I run this, Python is asking me to write a number. I have to write a number. For example, I'm going to write 10. okay, and when I press enter, then it says 10 is equal to 10 because this wasn't true, this condition wasn't true, this condition wasn't true either. So in the end, it's going to run this piece of code over here, this block of code. So this block of code is not run, this block of code is not run either in this case. If I rerun this, this piece of code and I write 5, for example, then it's going to say, okay, 5 is smaller than 10. So the only piece of code that has been run in this case is this piece of code here, okay, because this condition was not fulfilled, and this condition is fulfilled, and therefore then it exits this if statement, okay. But well, I'm talking about the if statement, and I only wanted to talk about the statements and code blocks, okay? But the main thing that you need to see here, to understand here, is that if we have a compound statement, okay, this is this column is going to tell me that I have to write an indentation here, and if I don't write the indentation, then an error is going to be raised, a syntax error is going to be raised, okay? And well, if you see here, we have here four spaces. This is the recommended size of the indentation. Okay, less indentation is, well, for Python at least, this is not recommended. And in this case, the editor of Jupyter Notebook and also of Spyder, if I write, well, this is a smart indentation, okay? So since I'm writing a column here, if I press enter after this, then by default this is going to start with the indentation, with a 4 spaces indentation. But here, okay, here in the end, if I press the tabular key, okay, the tabular, and I write something here like X, okay, this is going to be, as you can see here, we have 4 spaces. This is not a tabular with only 1 space with the same space as 4 spaces. No, this is not a tabular, these are 4 spaces. So some editors have well, and most of the editors can be configured so you can, when you press the tabular, you can specify the number of spaces that it is converted into. So it's not a tabular but 4 spaces. And that's it. So in general, a tabulator is not the same as 4 spaces, although sometimes it may look the same. Okay, so sometimes you can look at the code and you can say, okay, but if I have the indentation right, maybe not. Maybe you have used an editor which doesn't have this property, okay, that automatically converts any tabular to 4 spaces. And when you mix indentations in the same block, then a syntax error will rise. Like mixing spaces and tabulars, or writing, if you forget and you write this, sorry, if you write three spaces and you write code here, print X, and then this thing over here, okay, this belongs, this X should belong to the same else statement, but this is going to give a syntax error. Okay, indentation error, and an indent does not match any outer indentation level. So this is not either this indentation level nor this indentation level. It was here. So that is why an indentation error was risen. Okay, and that's it. Yes, that's it for the statements and the block codes. Then I'm going to show you the if statement. Well, not, I'm going to tell you now, because since I've been talking about this if statement, it's okay. Well, yes, I'm leaving this right a number blank. So, the if statement, well, we have already seen how the if statement works, okay? So, the syntax of the if statement is the following. I have an if, okay, then I have a condition. Remember, a condition, for a condition we need to have something that returns a boolean. Then we have the the column, okay, the column character. Then we have some statements. In this previous example, I only used one statement, but all the consecutive statements that have the same indentation are going to belong to the same block. So in this case we have here a block of statements. Then we can use, or we cannot, it depends, we can use the elif statement with another condition that is only going to be executed if this condition is not true. So in that case, this is going to go to the elif statement, and if this condition is fulfilled, then this is going to run these statements, and if condition 2 is not fulfilled either, then it is going to run the else statement. Here we can have a lot of elif statements in between, okay? This doesn't have to be the only one. It can be an elif statement for condition 2, another one for condition 3, elif condition 3, elif condition 4, etc., etc. And these conditions are going to be executed. Well, these statements are going to be executed by order, okay? And then what if none of these elif conditions are fulfilled, then the else statement is going to be executed, okay? So the statements of this block are going to be executed. So as I was saying, the elif and the else statements are optional, okay, and are only evaluated if no previous conditions are satisfied. In this case, I'm only using the if and the else condition. So I've have this example with random numbers. I have two integers that I'm going to obtain two integers with this expression over here. Okay, and they are going to be integers between -5 and 6, but 6 is not included. Okay, -5 it is included and 6 is not included. This can be, I can write here a 5 and then I have to say here endpoint equal true. I think it's this way, but I'm not sure. It's something like this. Yes, I've been lucky. No, I cannot execute this until I finish this one. So yes, please. Now, no, endpoint is not endpoint. I don't know, sorry. So in this case, I was doing this 6. Okay, it's another argument. Okay, another value for the endpoint, another name for the endpoint. The thing is that here in this case, I'm returning two integers. Okay, between -5 and 6, 6 not included. Now I print the values of x and y, and then I'm going to make a tuple with these two values sorted. So I have on the one hand, if x is less than y, then it's going to then xy sort is going to be the sorted tuple xy. And if in the other case, so if if y is greater or equal than x, then it's going to give the sorted tuple x yx. Okay, and then it's going to print the value of xy sort. Let's see what happens. So in these cases, I have that x is -2 and y is -1. So in this case, since x is less than y, then we have that this part of here is the piece of code that has been run. And the result is -2 -1. If I run again this piece of code, well, in this case, again, x is less than 5. Let's see if I can get a piece of code. Yes, here. I have in this case, x is 1 and y is -2. So in this case, the first condition was not fulfilled, so it went to the else condition. Okay, so to the else part. The else statement, which is going to do this thing over here. I could also write an if statement without else, only with the if statement. Okay, so it depends on the things that I want to do. And that's it for the if statement. We are going to see also the if-else expression. Okay, the if-else expression is used to return a value in a one-liner. Okay, a one-liner is a way of saying that we are going to write an if statement in just one line of code. Okay, this is a one-liner. But this only works for expressions. And what an expression is, well, an expression is a part of a simple statement and returns a value. So this is the most important part of an expression, okay? Is a piece of code that returns a value, basically. And it's in a simple statement. So we have here, well, it can be also in a compound statement or too, yes, but it's okay. It's it's usually used in simple statements, okay? But the main point is that it returns a value. So this if-else expression is going to return a value. And what value is it going to return? Well, it's going to return, this is the if-else expression, okay? So this is going to return this expression over here if the condition is fulfilled, and if the condition is not fulfilled, then it's going to write another expression. It's going to return, another expression. Okay? So I cannot use this expression, this if-else expression, for print or other things because I need to return a value. And this value that I return is going to be assigned to this variable. Okay? So in this case I have more or less the same as before, but just in a one-liner. So I have two variables, x, y, that are going to be, in this case, are going to be between 0 and 10, with 10 excluded, okay? And I print the two variables, x and y, and then I'm going to sort this variable. So x, y sort is going to be just like before, a sorted tuple of these two variables. So it's going to be xy if x is less than y, and in any other case it's going to return, is going to be yx. And then I'm going to print this xy sort. So here I have, with x equal 2 and y equal 0, I'm going to, the result is 0, 2. Okay, in this case x is greater than y. If I rerun this code, it's going to be 0, 9, 8, 9. Okay, and this is always ordered. You see? In the previous case, x was greater than y, and in this case is y greater than 8. So this is very useful. This is very useful for make readable code, and not to be very, well, this is not complicated, okay, but I think that this is quite readable because you can read even with a human understandable language, that this is going to return xy if x is less than y, and else is going to return yx. I think it's quite understandable.